Test, test, test. Test, test. Oh, wait.
I was making sure the levels.
like to call to order the Planning and Development Committee meeting for Monday, April 27th, 2026. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Levi Farrar of Calvary Christian Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I just ask that everyone could stand.
Father in heaven, thank you for this opportunity to gather. Thank you for the opportunity to really focus on how you are guiding all of us to lead here in the Rockford area. I bless all the leaders here that are taking place in this meeting, that they're able to listen to the needs of the community, that they're able to build up the best way to serve the people here in Rockford. God bless us in only the ways that you can bless us, and work in only the ways that you can work to build your kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven, and more specifically in the Rockford area. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm going to kick it right over to Mayor McNamara for tonight's proclamation. Yellow.
Thank you, Chairwoman. This evening we are fortunate we have two proclamations. The first proclamation is for World Migratory Bird Day, and we have Jennifer Kuroda with us. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's our annual gathering. Whereas migratory birds are some of the most beautiful and easily observed wildlife that share our communities, and whereas migratory birds and their habitats are declining throughout the Americas, facing a growing number of threats to their migration routes in both their summer and winter homes, and whereas public awareness and concern are crucial components of migratory bird conservation, and whereas since 1993, the World Migratory Bird Day has become a primary vehicle for focusing public attention on nearly 350 species that travel between nesting habitats in our communities throughout North America and their wintering grounds in South and Central America, Mexico, the Caribbean, and southern United States. And whereas World Migratory Bird Day is not only a day to foster appreciation for wild birds and to celebrate and support migratory bird conservation, but also a call to action. Now, therefore, I, Thomas P. Maxmer, as the mayor of the city of Rockford, do hereby proclaim May 9th, 2026 to be World Migratory Bird Day. Would you like to share a few words?
Thank you so much. Thank you to the mayor for continuing to recognize the importance of World Migratory Bird Day, a day that is celebrated each year as birds make their migratory journey between North and South America. This recognition is also part of the Bird City, Illinois requirements. Rockford was one of the first communities to receive this recognition in 2022, and the mayor has entertained my regular advocacy requests on an annual basis since then, maybe even before then, when my daughter was advocating for an official city bird, our peregrine falcon. So thank you for all of that and hearing me out. There are several events you can attend to celebrate World Migratory Bird Day in our area. On May 8th, there will be an Ars Publica event with the release of our third collaboration of bird songs with local musician Mickey Torpedo. Both the Illinois Arts Council and Rockford Area Arts Council actually awarded us a grant for this collaboration for this album. And additionally, just north of Rockford, in Rockton, also an up-and-coming Bird City, Illinois, you can attend the Rockton Pelican Fest on May 16th. The Mississippi Audubon, of course, will be there at both events, and we hope to see you there.
Could you repeat the time for the partnership with Mickey Ed?
Sure, that is on May 8th, and it's at wherever they hold our, wherever Ars Publica holds their events. It's at a gallery on State Street, and I believe, perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Great to see you. Thank you. Our next proclamation is for Motorcycle Awareness Month, and we have Susie Jones and Mike Brush with us, as well as others, if you'd like. If you're going to take a photo, you can come on in here so you got a better one. Hey, how are you? How are you? Going great. I'm going to give that to you. whereas safety is the highest priority for highways and streets of our city and state, and whereas the great state of Illinois is proud to be a national leader in motorcycle safety, education, and awareness, and whereas motorcycles are common economical means of transportation that reduces fuel consumption and road wear, and contributes in a significant way to the relief of traffic and parking congestion, and whereas it is especially meaningful of the citizens of our city and state to be aware of motorcycles on the roadways and recognize the importance of motorcycle safety. Whereas the members of ABATE of Illinois, Inc. Continually promote motorcycle safety education and awareness programs to drivers and host educational programs to the general public with over 350,000 participants in Illinois in the past year. And whereas the Motorcycles of Illinois have contributed extensive volunteerism and money to national and community charitable organizations. Now therefore, I, Thomas P. Maximer, as the mayor of the city of Rockford, do by here proclaim May 2026 to be Motorcycle Awareness Month. Would you like to share a few words?
I just want to tell everybody put their phones down and look out for us because we get ran over. And May 2nd, we'll be having our annual parade from Carlson's Ice Arena down to Kegel's, the kickoff Motorcycle Awareness Month.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll move right into our public speaking. We do have 5 public speakers tonight. I just want to remind you that you will have 3 minutes to make your comments. There are 2 microphones located at the back end of this horseshoe. Once you hear an alarm sound, via my phone, if it's working properly, we just ask that you bring your comments to a close at that time. Our first public speaker tonight is Kelly Lewis of Davis Junction.
All right, before I begin, I want to address the resolution proposal. The current draft does need work as it lacks sufficient protections for our community, but is definitely a step forward. Until now, we've been told there is nothing to discuss. We have fought to change that. Tamir Bell has opened the door for communication, and I urge you to include the community members in the next draft. We are not against growth. We are a community that care deeply for this area and will fight hard for our water, land, air, homes, and our health. We want to grow, we want growth, and we want to protect what already exists. By now, you are aware of the 4 requests that have brought into question how much planning has quietly gone into this data center by Rockford and Winnebago County officials. As a resident on Friday Road, these documents are shocking. They have directly contradicted repeated public statements from city and county leaders. They reveal questionable moral boundaries, misinformation, and manipulation, much of it coming directly from Charles Kuntz, COO of Monarch. These communications go back to January 2025, when my family was living life we worked so hard to build. Decisions were being made behind closed doors to dismantle it. On April 28, 2025, City Administrator Todd Cagnoni told Kuntz, "We look forward to advancing the project," and requested the site plans. On May 15th, Cagnoni sent the inducement letter. On July 10th, Kuntz requested a call to discuss the development agreements before, in his words, firing up the lawyers. Inducement letters and development agreements are not exploratory conversations, they are planning. On June 23rd, 2025, Kuntz wrote to Mayor McNamara and Chairman Shirelli, urging them to pressure state legislators to fight regulatory standards on data centers and threaten that companies would leave Illinois if lawmakers did not comply. On December 18th, of 2025, Scott Sanders of Public Works wrote to Kuntz after a meeting with a traffic engineer. He offered, "We may be able to do you one better and are willing to consider removal of the southern half of Friday Road altogether, replaced with a cul-de-sac at the edge of the residential parcels. Those residential parcels are my neighbors. Those are residents who were part of a conversation they knew nothing about, a conversation erasing any concern the city, county, or Monarch may have shown for their neighbors. Since the day we learned of this project, we have asked for transparency. Instead, the planning continued behind closed doors. By the time a formal proposal arrives, it will be designed to press quickly and far too late for residents like myself to save our homes. Transparency is a practice of openness and honesty in communication and decision-making, sharing clear, complete information without hiding essential facts. This is not what transparency is. We are no longer asking for this transparency. We are demanding it. Mayor McNamara has said that he has not lost sleep over this project. The residents at risk of losing everything no longer have that luxury.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is Peggy Kane of St. Charles.
My name is Peggy Kane, and I'm a property owner on Friday Road. I've heard that some of the city consider those organizing against the Monarch Energy Data Center to be misinformed. I want to speak to that label. Maybe we are misinformed, but what I'd like to ask this body tonight is how can the public be informed about a project when officials chose for a year not to share any information about it? A FOIA request shows a year of planning involving many people. The request produced over 100 documents, mostly emails exchanged between April 25 and March of 26 about the Monarch Rock Air project. More than 30 people representing 26 organizations participated in them. Monarch Energy, among them Monarch Energy and its consultants, the City of Rockford, Winnebago County, R1 Planning, the Illinois Department of Commerce, the Governor's Office, ComEd and Nicor Gas, 2 lobbying firms, 2 building trade unions, and at least 6 members of the Illinois General Assembly across both parties. Of those emails, more than half are about coordinating meetings between Monarch public officials and paid lobbyists. 1 in 13 mentioned jobs or economic impact. What was the share of the emails that discussed public consultation? 0. I'd like to read an email from December 2025. Scott Sanders, a water and utilities official with Rockford, writes to Charles Coons, the Chief Operating Officer of Monarch. We have no objections to the Friday Road vacation. In fact, we may be able to do one better and are willing to consider a removal of the southern half of Friday altogether if you would construct a cul-de-sac at the southern edge of the residential parcels. Mr. Coons forwarded that email to R1 Planning Commission with a short supply. Like the sound of that. I'd like to ask, how can city officials be that casual about removing half of a public road when they hadn't consulted the public? I understand that the early stages of economic development sometimes require confidentiality, but in May 2025, a year ago, Rockford's city administrator had already delivered a formal inducement letter to Monarch. From that point on, the FOIA records show that planning accelerated. In March of this year, Mayor McNamara told the Rock River Current, "I'm now on weekly phone calls and having weekly meetings about our ability to land this development." That same month, in an email to a constituent, the mayor wrote, "There is no deal now," and that he would make it a priority to share it with the public once he had information. So my final question is this. At what point did this project move from an idea that you were exploring to something real? And at that moment, why was it not the right time to bring in the people who own the land you were planning around? Thank you to Mayor Bell for recognizing this is more than a business proposition. Guardrails must be established to protect people, resources, and the environment too. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is Amanda Becker of Rockford.
Good evening, my name is Amanda Becker, and I stand before you tonight as the City of Rockford Historical Preservation Commission President and Auburn High School history teacher. I wish to address the need to preserve Rockford historical structures and to thank the Council for approving funding to save Rockford's historical identity for future generations to come. The loss of the Briggs Mansion has spurred me, along with many other concerned historians, researchers, librarians, and architects, and community activists to take action to prevent future losses. Therefore, a new organization of active community members will, over the course of this summer, pursue completing paperwork to designate at least 10 new historical structures to become new local landmarks. Why is this work important? Buildings such as the Briggs Mansion provide a physical connection to the national movements. Mr. Briggs was an avant-garde abolitionist, a human equity activist, and a women's rights proponent in the Rockford community. Now that civic pride in knowing that Rockford vibrantly was a part of the abolitionist movement could be lost. Gary Anderson, a local architect in the Rockford area, lectured on the monetary value of saving historical structures. An empty lot does not pay taxes, and nor does it gain new residents easily. As president of the HPC, I find it very difficult to look at a Haight Village resident in the eye who asks to put vinyl windows into their Victorian home, and yet the UW-Madison can destroy an 1863 mansion without penalty. And why is that? The reason boils down to simply Rockfordians in the past caring about the city. The people of Rockford silently on social media are demanding action now, and those caring Rockfordians of the 1980s have proven to me that preserving our history can be done. I thank them because without their efforts, local landmarks such as the Stewart Square, 1891 Madison YMCA, the Metropolitan Lofts, Woodfire Building of 1856, and the crown jewel of Rockford itself, the Coronado, would be nothing today but pictures in a dusty Sinisippi Saga book from 1968. Rockford is a fighting city. It should not allow outside entities to dictate what should and should not be done with its history. I refuse to think that Rockford could be seen as a silent victim, simply telling its public to relax and take it. To conclude, I thank the council for investing in Rockford's past by funding projects such as Coleman Yards, where my grandfather worked as a grinder, the Watch Factory, and the Coronado Theater, in which many of our RPS children today are exposed to the arts. Public funding should indeed continue. I thank Scott Capovola and the mayor's office to allow a team of RPL librarians, Rockford historians, architects, and community partners to pursue making 10 new sites local landmarks over the summer. I hope to prove our case for these sites by beginning of July. And I would also suggest that the council approve an inventory to be made of historical residential districts, as has been done with the Rockford Industries, along with approving an ordinance to forbid historical demolition of buildings that are pre-1900 for 120 days to allow time for historical resource and community input before it is too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Prophet Yusuf of Rockford.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the book of Sirach, the 40th chapter, the 28th to the 29th verse, it says, "My son, live not the life of a beggar. Better to die than to beg. When one has to look to another's table, his life is not really a life." What I want to speak about tonight, ending homelessness, poverty, and want. Under this wise economic plan, we can use the collective power of our unity to build a future for ourselves. We do not believe that America will ever be able to furnish enough jobs for her own millions of unemployed, in addition to jobs for the millions of black people. Pooling our resources to achieve a common goal is a universal concept that makes a lot of sense. Why? Analysts say the wealthy elites and political power have forgotten about black America and the poor in the United States. The blueprint calls on 16 million black wage earners to give just 35 cents a week to a national treasurer. In 1 year, the fund would amass $291,200,000 to be invested in housing so people can have a place to stay, invest in business so our people can have a job, so they won't be idle, because idle mind is the devil's workshop. Open our own schools, open 24 hours free daycare centers so mothers can go to school or work. Open up our own hospitals and clinics so we can help our people who are sick, and also give felonies a second chance like God gave us with his grace and mercy. This economic plan will help reduce crime, homelessness, poverty in America, because poverty, and you can look at this up, poverty, hopelessness, and despair is the mother of crime. You can ask any criminologist, he'll tell you this. And keep putting money in this economic plan so our children will have a positive future. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Denzel Winter of Rockford.
Good evening, City Council. I'm coming here with I got a nasty attitude because things have been happening to me, and I worry for my family. I worry for my neighborhood. The things that happen shouldn't be happening. My son's name was mentioned, and it shouldn't have been, because he's not even here. He don't even work in this town, but his name was mentioned. You know, just like I said, I done lost a child here. He got ran over. The people came up on the sidewalk and ran him over. But you know what they said? They said it must have been a drug deal or a gang deal that went bad. Never heard no more from it. Now I got to worry about the rest of my kids. And I shouldn't have to, and parents shouldn't have to. In our neighborhood, I know for a fact, we got more pedophiles running around up in the neighborhood. Why you put them people in our neighborhood? You got an east side, you got a north side, you got a south side. Why you always packing people in our neighborhood? We need to be protected too. Not after one of our kids go missing. Not after one of our children come up dead. But we need the protection that you give these people on the east side. We pay taxes too. And that's something you guys better start realizing.
Thank you. That concludes tonight's public speakers. We'll move right.
I'd like to give public comment to buy The
Where-
Open Meetings Act is very clear. Are there written and recorded rules that prevent me from speaking here?
I'm going to refer to our legal department.
21 governs the ability of public to participate in our meetings. The chair has the discretion to direct an individual interrupting to remain seated. You're referring to City Council Rule 21, correct? For which this is not City Council? Madam Chair, I'm not permitted to address the public. That would be, I'm giving you information, you can address the public.
At this time, sir, we're done with public speaking. If you will, please take your seat so we can get on with the rest of the meeting.
I would still like to offer public comment. Is there?
And as chair, I'm telling you no. As chair, I'm telling you no.
Is that a written and recorded rule? You have Open Meetings Act training, correct? I verified the fact that you have Open Meetings Act training. The chair can direct a member to be removed.
I'm sorry.
The chair can direct a person to be removed if they don't want to comply with the rule.
Okay, here you go.
Was your body camera activated this time? Oh, come on, man! I literally had this talk. You gotta train people better. I am being, so, or what is happening?
Yes. At this time, officers, can you please escort the gentleman out, please? All right. Clerk, will you please call the roll? Here.
Here.
We have two items up for discussion tonight. Item 1 is an approval of the amendment. Clerk, did we get all the roll calls? Here.
Here.
Thank you. Item 1 is an approval of the amendment to the AP 90 program specific requirements, all current and prior year annual action plans. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions or discussion on the item? Seeing there's no discussion or questions, all those in favor, please state by indicating aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. The item passes. Item 2 is an approval of the amendments to the fiscal year 2025 addition of projects and budget amendments. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing that there are none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. This meeting is adjourned.
Welcome to the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting held tonight, April 27, 2026. Sir Clerk, could you please take the roll? Here. Thank you. All right, our first item is an informational-only item. It is the fiscal or financial discussion for March 2026. Ms. Harriet, I bet you're going to present on this.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes. So year-to-date revenue through March, as you can see in the report, a couple of items to note. The first is use tax, which is significantly over budget year-to-date by about $53,000. Income tax over budget as well, about 12% or $450,000. Unfortunately, offset by a significant underperformance in replacement tax or PPRT of $922,000. If you recall, that was a revenue source that we reduced significantly for the 2026 budget based on estimates that we received from the state and IML. It looks like that reduction has not been sufficient, so we'll continue to monitor PPRT performance as the year goes on. That we do receive that in 8 disbursements, and this is 2 of 8. And they do not come evenly throughout the year. So there is a possibility that we could recover some of those losses. The remainder of our general fund revenue year to date, though, is overall positive, about a 7.6% over budget year to date. On the expense side, similar story, about 8% under budget year to date on expenditures, which we would anticipate for the first part of the fiscal year, as we're still paying, as we've recently wrapped up paying 2025 invoices and getting firmly into the work of 2026. On the CAP, we have a CAP sales tax, first disbursement 16.5% over budget, which is great news. In the redevelopment fund, overall about 4% underperformance, and that's largely driven by packaged liquor and hotel motel tax. And casino revenue is over estimate by about 6% year to date. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Haggerty? Alderman Salgado.
Yeah, just real quick, the comment about the replacement tax.
Yes.
Can you say that, because I wasn't paying attention?
Oh, sure. So we reduced that budget significantly for 2026 based on projections that we were receiving both from the state and the IML puts together projections as this is a statewide revenue source. Obviously, that wasn't a big enough reduction, it appears, based on the first 2 disbursements we've received so far. So we'll continue to monitor it. It is dispersed in 8 installments throughout the year. This is 2 of 8, and it's not 8 equal disbursements. So there's still a chance that we could have some recovery.
So I'm sorry. So you're saying we reduced it, but most likely we'll get to that number that.
Well, we reduced it, so we're measuring performance against a budget that's already been reduced from historical numbers. So it appears that potentially the projection or the recommendations we received from IML and the state were not sufficient, but it is still early in the fiscal year, 25% of the revenue in. I will obviously very closely monitor this and look for updates from the state or IML on how they project the year to end as we move forward.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Alderman Logan.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I noticed that the Rockford Fire had, I think it was 24% over budgeted for overtime, and our PD was about 14% under budgeted, which is good. Typically, I feel like we see RPD and RFD are usually around like the 15 to 20% range of going over their budget for overtime right now. I was surprised to see RPD being like double digits under budget. I know the chief is dealing with other things right now, but I was curious as to why that was. Do you know?
Sure. So they're not 14% under budget. They've only spent 14% of the total budget year to date, which is under where we would expect them to be. But as our effort, or as PD's efforts to get up to full staffing have started to come to fruition, we have more officers on the street. Overtime exposure reduces.
Yeah,
so I think some of those hiring efforts are showing themselves in the overtime numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Tuneberg.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, Director, I would have asked this question earlier in the week had I had time. Could you further elaborate on the utility tax? There seems to be that large increase.
There is, and I do not have an answer for you on that, but I will get information put together and share that with all of City Council.
Okay. And I do see that hotel, motel, and packaged liquor are down double digits, and but maybe those same people are just going out to eat because at least the restaurant tax is up. So, thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, thank you very much for that information. Moving on, the committee reports. Item number 1 is the approval of vouchers in the amount of $9,022,558.28. Is there a motion to approve vouchers?
Second.
Any questions or comments on vouchers? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Resolutions. Item number 1 is award a bid for demolition group 36 in Northern Illinois Service in the amount of $39,700 for properties located at 1151 North Main Street and 2818 Horton Street. The contract duration is through the completion of the demolition project. The funding sources are the Community Development General Fund and the IDHA Strong Communities Grant. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 2 is award a bid for citywide street repairs group number 3 to Rock Road Companies in the amount of $3,494,396.19. The contract is through August 28, 2026, and the funding source is the 1% infrastructure sales tax. Is there a motion to approve the repairs?
Second.
Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? I'm sorry, Alderman Toon, do you have a question?
No, I'm an aye on that, by the way.
All right.
Thank you.
Matter passes. Item 3 is award a bid for Madison Street Corridor Improvements Phase 2 to N-Track, the amount of $9,750,755.36. The contract duration is from June 1, 2026 through October 31, 2027. The funding sources are the 1% infrastructure sales tax, the WRIA, the Illinois Department of Commerce Economic Opportunity Funds, and the Florida River Sanitation Authority funds. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions or comments on Mass Street? Alderman Logeman.
Yeah, real quick, thank you, Chair. I noticed in the memo it said the repairs are going to take 2 years. I'm curious if that's like 2 seasons, so like summer of 26, summer of 27, or 2 years from this date, which would be like April of 28.
It would be 26 and 27.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Moving on to number 4 is award of an engineering agreement for the Madison Street improvements in the amount of $719,000 to Fair Graham. The contract is also from June 1, 2026 through October 31, 2027, and the funding sources are the 1% infrastructure sales tax and the WRIA. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 5 is an award of an engineering agreement for the Winnebago Street over Kent Creek and Railroad Bridge Rehabilitation, Phase 2 engineering to H.R. Green in the amount of $333,693. The contract is from April 2026 through June of 2027, and the funding source are MFT funds. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions on this project? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 6 is a resolution approving the appropriation of MFT funds for the improvement under the Illinois Highway Code 4, the Winnebago Street over Kenton Creek and Railroad Bridge Rehabilitation, amount of $500,000. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 7 is an approval and acceptance of the IDHS Emergency Solutions Grant Award in the amount of $25,000. The grant does require a 100% cost match. The grant term is from July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. It will be used to pay for street outreach, homeless management, information, data entry, and admin costs. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 8 is approval and acceptance of the IDHS Rapid Rehousing Grant Award in the amount of $374,169. This grant does not require a cost match. The grant term is from July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2027. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions for staff? Alderman Hoffman.
Thank you for letting me speak at your meeting. Can someone please explain what this actually looks like? At one time, we were able to take money and put people directly into motels, and then things changed. And I'm just wondering, is this bringing back that program, or does this mean something else? So I'm interested in both 8 and 9. How does that look as far as our homeless?
Sure. Mr. Carter?
Thank you, Alderman Hoffman. No, these are just reoccurring grants. These grants, especially when you look at item 8, which is a rapid rehousing grant, that is in conjunction with the federal funds that we receive from HUD in order to rehouse those who are homeless or who are facing homeless, imminent. When you look at the number 9, which is our IDHS Homeless Prevention Grant, that is part of the challenge to where we are able to use some of those monies for hotels if needed, but what you're thinking of, I think in the past, is through our Community Services Block Grant. Those are the funds that allow us much more flexibility to do that. The IDHS HP grant will allow that, but that has to receive permission directly from the state on that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Alderman Trina. All right, seeing no further questions, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 9 is an approval and acceptance of the Illinois Department of Human Services Shelter Diversion Grant Award in the amount of $113,534. This grant does not require a cost match. It is from July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027. Be used to pay for clients' landlord, housing, and stabilization services, payroll, and admin costs. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 10 is approval and acceptance of the Illinois Department of Human Services Homeless Prevention Grant Award in the amount of $1,110,414. This grant does not require a cost match. The grant term is from July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027. Be used to pay for approved clients' rent, electric, and/or heating bills, budget education, staff training, payroll, and admin costs. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 11 is an acceptance and approval of the Illinois Department of Human Services Community Convenor Grant Award in the amount of $188,000. This grant does not require a cost match. The award will be issued in 2 separate agreements covering a 12-month period with $47,000 for the period from April 1, 2026 to June 30, 2026. And Part B provides $141,000 for the period from July 1, 2026 through March 31, 2027. The grant will be used for the purpose of continuing to convene a group of community members and Reimagine Public Safety Act grant recipients to facilitate community-based violence prevention strategies, outreach, and service delivery costs. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 12 is an award of professional service agreement for architectural design of fire stations 2, 4, 5, 9, and 10, and fire department headquarters and the fire academy to Larson and Darby in the amount of $192,950. The contract duration is 2 years. The funding source is the Fire Station 10 reallocation funds from the 2022 budget surplus funds. Is there a motion to approve the award? Are there any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Item 13 is an award of bid for the Coronado decorative plaster repairs to Evergreen Architectural Arts in the amount of $596,048. The contract duration is through December 31, 2027. The funding source is the redevelopment fund. Is there a motion to approve the bid? Any questions or comments for staff? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed? Matter passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor of adjourning indicate by aye. Aye. Thank you. This meeting's adjourned.
Welcome to the Code and Regulation Committee meeting for Monday, April 27th. We have 20 items on the agenda, so clerk, would you please call the roll? Here. Thank you. Under committee reports, item 1 is North Court Street and Whitman Street. Traffic Commission recommends approval to establish a no parking anytime except paratransit restriction on the west side of North Court Street from 318 feet north of Whitman Street to 348 feet north of Whitman Street. Is there a motion to approve? Any questions or comments on item 1? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2 is the final plat of Bell School Crossing subdivision located at 73XX East Riverside Boulevard. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 2? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 is 2530, 2710, and 2720 South Main Street. The Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a special use permit for planned unit development for an RV and fifth wheel only community in an R1 single-family residential zoning district at 2530, 2710, and 2720 South Main Street. Is there a motion to approve? I'll second. Any comments or questions on item 3? Alderwoman Tarina.
Yes, this does reside in my ward. I would like to make a motion to lay this item over, please. I have a lot of concerns with this one, especially after listening to public comments at zoning. So I just want to make sure that I do thorough due diligence before making any decisions on this one, so.
Thank you. Second. So we have a motion to lay over and a second. I agree the testimony at ZBA was compelling, but I do want to just note for the record that on all of the aldermen's desks is a copy of the Voluntary Relocation Assistance Program that was sent to me by the attorney for the property owner today, and it was, I believe there were no specifics given at ZBA on what that would look like, and so now you have that to consider, assuming this gets laid over. Are there any other questions or comments on the motion to lay over? Seeing none, clerk, will you call the roll? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So item 3 is laid over. Item 4, 3207 North Main Street. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends denial for a variation to decrease the minimum side yard setback for a covered entrance from 6 feet to 1 foot in a C2 limited commercial zoning district at 3207 North Main Street. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 4? Okay. So voting to, just to remind everybody, voting yes means you are supporting the recommendation from the Zoning Board of Appeals for denial. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, 3321 Integrity Drive. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a zoning map amendment from C3 General Commercial Zoning District and I1 Light Industrial Zoning District to I3 Airport Industrial Zoning District at 3321 Integrity Drive. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Are there any questions or comments on item 5? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, 515 South Alpine Road. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends denial for a special use permit for a planned unit development consisting of 4 4-unit buildings and 2 8-unit buildings in an R1 single-family residential zoning district at 515 South Alpine Road. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments on item 6? Alderwoman Trina.
Thank you. I am going to be voting to not sustain the denial. I did not agree with the zoning decision. This particular item did come through as a city staff recommendation. So I'm just letting you know I will be voting no on this one. However, Mr. Capvilla, can you tell me what the vote was? I was there, but I don't remember what the tally was.
There was 4 people that voted against it and 2 that voted for it.
Okay. There was no abstentions on that one?
No.
Okay.
I believe there was 1 ZBA member absent, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Alderman Beach.
Thank you for allowing me to speak on your committee. I know there's been a lot of discussion, at least emails and so forth, against this project. But I sense there might be some way for some compromise here. And before we completely throw it away, I'd like to at least discuss some of those possibilities, or if not, to allow it to lay over so we can meet with the developer, meet with engineers and other things to see whether there is a way to come up with a compromise. So that would be my thoughts, Mr. Chairman, if that's at all possible.
Thank you, Alderman Beach. Any other questions or comments? I am going to be voting in favor of the zoning board recommendation for denial. I spoke against this at the ZBA. It borders the 14th Ward. It's the 14th Ward on the opposite side of Alpine, and I don't want to belabor most of the points that I made there, but I think that the neighbors, some of whom are in 14th Ward and most of whom are in Alderman Beach's ward in the 10th Ward, have valid concerns about the possible detriment to their investments in their homes if a multifamily is allowed to be constructed on a parcel of land that is essentially surrounded on three sides by parkland, and then that parkland and the remaining side of this parcel by single-family housing. The property owner, that whenever it purchased this property, knew or should have known that it was zoned for single-family construction, for single-family homes, and there's no automatic right to instead develop it as multifamily. That's why it is before us, and that's why, you know, presumably the ZBA recommendation is what it is. And I just really, in defense of the property owners who spoke against it, really take exception with the ZBA chairman NIMBY shaming them and talking about how they don't have the right for their neighborhood to remain under glass, and that because the city needs more housing, that they should just have to accept that. And I think that is the wrong way to go about addressing our housing shortage. And so I am going to be voting in favor of this ZBA recommendation. Alderman Thunberg.
Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak on your committee. Has there been any talk of a modification of this proposal in the meantime since the ZBA's recommendation for denial? I just know that sometimes that there are cases where developers will come back with a modification.
I'm not aware of any, but I think that that's what Alderman Beach is alluding to. And so maybe if Alderman Beach wants to address that, and then maybe staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman Thunberg, I had placed a call to one of the engineers in response to his call to me, and we've not been able to connect. But I sensed there was a willingness to perhaps look at some other alternatives there. And I thought before it just went away, we should do that. Now, if it's not going to go away, then I would be supporting the denial, is the way it sits right now. But on the other hand, you and I have been around here long enough to know that sometimes when you get a denial like this, there are other modifications that come up for people can look at. Rightly or wrongly, I'm just saying that in fairness to the developer, I'd like to give them a chance to have that discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can Mr. Capavilla address that, and then I'll go back to you, Alderman Thunberg, and then to Alderwoman Torina.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so there was an email that I did receive saying that there was going to be consideration to possibly change it. It was recommended by one of the board members that he might be in favor of it if the 2 8-families became 4 families like the other 4 that were proposed. And so they were considering that. Now, if they've reached out to you, Alderman Beach, then I think that's a step in the right direction. So.
Thank you. Alderman Thunberg.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I know it's kind of a balancing act. We obviously want to see more development, housing development in our city, but we want to see it done smartly, of course. Just would it be an easier process to have something like this laid over for, I'm not on the committee, but would it be easier to have it laid over for them to, the developer to possibly propose something in the meantime, or just continue ahead as?
So I would recommend that Alderman Beach have those conversations between now and next week when this comes to council, and then if it looks like there's more work to be done, to lay it over when it gets to council next week versus to lay it over now. But that's just me. Alderwoman Trina, did you?
Yes. I would like for Mr. Capavilla to explain why staff felt like this was a smart decision and ZBA did not. Please.
So this land has been sitting there with just one single-family home on like a 6-acre site. I don't want to say it seems like a waste of land, but it's all surrounded by park to the west, north, and to the east, and to the south we have a commercial area and single-family. We looked at it as a good infill site that could develop and provide housing, which is desperately needed in the city, and it would create that middle housing that we keep talking about that's missing in the city. Also, as a part of our future land use plan, we did designate this area for medium-density residential. Now, that does not, I'm going to say right now, it does not show up on the staff's recommendation because that was written a couple months ago before we adopted that, so we have it listed as to what it was actually listed under before, which was quasi-public at the time. I think there was a possibility that people were thinking that this might be acquired by the city or the park district at some time, but it was not. So, but we were happy with the designs of the buildings, the layout. They're building a private road, but it would be built to public standards, and they were providing necessary pedestrian access north and south so that people can use a sidewalk to get down to Larson and provide sidewalks on Larson as well. So overall, we thought it was a good fit, especially with the townhomes that were being proposed for that area.
So I actually would ask Mr. Capavilla one other question too that I don't believe came up at ZBA. So I assume as a neighboring contiguous property owner that the park district was notified of this. Has the park district indicated any support or opposition to this or communicated with us at all?
No, usually they don't object to anything like this or take any stances. So.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments on item 6? So in this case, again, a yes vote is to oppose the development, and a no vote is to support it. Clerk, would you please call the roll? Yes. So motion fails. Legal? I knew this was coming. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. In this situation, because there's findings of fact associated with ZBA's recommendation, I would recommend reversing ZBA's decision and adopting findings of fact associated with approving this application.
Sure. But to clarify, that does not reverse the requirement at council of a 2/3 majority vote because of the ZBA recommendation, correct?
That's correct.
So when this gets to council, it would need 10 votes to pass.
The ordinance would, that's correct.
The ordinance would?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Does someone want to make that motion to reverse the ZBA recommendation? Motion and a second to reverse the ZBA recommendation. Can you call the roll, clerk, please?
Bonnie?
No.
Tarina? Franchi? Wilkins? Bell?
Motion passes. Okay, item 7 is 1320 21st Avenue. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a variation to reduce the rear yard setback from 30 feet to 9 feet in an R2 two-family residential zoning district at 1320 21st Avenue. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 7? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8. 730 and 7XX Lincoln Park Boulevard. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a special use permit for a planned unit development consisting of a working farm and education center with pole barns for community meeting place and equipment storage, 2 30 by 90 foot passive solar greenhouses, a storage shed, a gazebo, and a gravel parking area and gravel driveway in an R1 single-family residential zoning district at 730 and 7XX Lincoln Park Boulevard. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 8? Alderwoman Trina.
I just have a comment. I really, reading this before meeting the plaintiffs, you get a very different viewpoint of what this actually is going to be. But they're conservationists that are taking land that ultimately would just probably be dumped on and nothing happened to, and making it like this prairie and just promoting the love of nature. And I can't even use the right terminology, but I love the use of this, so I'm happy to support this item. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on item 8? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, 215, 325, and 423 South Madison Street. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval for a zoning map amendment from I-1 Light Industrial Zoning District to C4 Urban Mixed Use Zoning District at 2015 through 25 and 423 South Madison Street. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 9? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, 818 6th Street. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board of Appeals recommends approval for the sale of tobacco products and the sale of packaged liquor in conjunction with a gas station and convenience store in a C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 818 6th Street. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 10? Alderwoman Torino.
No shocker here. There are a lot of liquor approvals this week, and so many of these are in highly, highly vulnerable areas. So I'm not going to be voting yes for this one, and if you hear me say no for any other ones, it's probably just because of where it is. But this one in particular, it's definitely going to be a no. But again, it's just because I feel like they're in highly vulnerable areas where we do not absolutely need to be adding more liquor or tobacco to further diminish the quality of life for the people in the area. So that's all. Thank you.
Can I ask if this is your ward or is this the 11th ward? 11th ward? Okay.
Well, I care about the whole city, not just mine.
Alderman Bell.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd agree with the 5th Ward Alderwoman's statement about how we need to figure out a way to take a liquor away from our communities, especially those that are vulnerable. There's an item on the agenda later on today in my ward for liquor and tobacco approval. I have a question for this specific one, though, to Mr. Capavilla. Is this an ownership change, or is this a new business?
It's an ownership change of an existing business, and to Alderman Torino's comment, or I would like to point out that the last time this came through, we saw the police calls, and they just skyrocketed from midnight to 2 in the morning, and it was really bad. And so we had recommended a closing of midnight. The owner did not like that, but he agreed to it. The same thing was brought up this past Tuesday, where the owner said, no, I want to be open until 2 a.m., and we said, no, we were going to stick with the 12 a.m. closing time for liquor sales because it's proven that it had reduced the number of police calls. So I just want to point that out.
Thank you.
I'd love to know kind of a map of, and this is a big project, we can work on this offline, of course, but at least in my ward, well, I'd like to know what businesses that sell liquor are required to close at midnight or at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. Compared, from west side to maybe east side. So we'll work on that. Would love to get that list just to compare how the city has limited the time in which a business can sell liquor, and for what reasons. We'll work on that, though, Mr. Capavilla. Thank you.
May I ask if the alderman for the ward has an opinion on this?
So, from my opinion, at this point in time, so it is an establishment already there. I continue to go and support this on this direction. However, there are some underlying issues there within that area. We got Carpenter's Place, which is right around the corner. So yes, there is a lot there where there is some, congregation from that perspective, which, kind of lures from that particular site. However, from that perspective, I have talked to the owners on that, and they are trying really hard to clean their act, and they understand that some of the patrons that go there have some potential issues with alcohol use from that perspective. So from my standpoint, it is an existing business that's just renewing and getting the license to continue to operate. Causing potentially closure for this to happen, potentially huge revenue losses, a vacant building there, just going to add more to that site. So from my perspective at this point in time, and I do encourage Mr. Capavilla's comments, restricting them on certain time limits in order to reduce some of the calls that occur there. So that is my opinion, my comment.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments on item 9, or 10, rather? Seeing none, clerk, could we have a roll call vote on this one? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 11, 2975 North Perryville Road. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board of Appeals recommends approval for the sale of tobacco products in conjunction with a gas station and convenience store in a C2 limited commercial zoning district at 2975 North Perryville Road. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Are there any questions or comments on item 11? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, 2914, West State Street Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board of Appeals recommends approval for the sale of packaged liquor, class PKG, and the sale of tobacco products in conjunction with a gas station and convenience store in an I-1 light industrial zoning district at 2914 West State Street. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Are there any questions or comments on item 12? Alderman Bell.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Capavilla, can you confirm that this is an ownership change, please?
It is an ownership change, yes.
So this property, Whale Gas Station, in the 13th Ward, if you go from Johnston to Pierpont, there are 3 or 4 different liquor or tobacco shops, all in a 5-block radius. This has been here for a while. I have a great relationship with the current owner. I know that they are selling it. I'd like to, and I've made comments about this many times regarding access to fresh food, specifically in an area that is a food desert, to say the least. Would love to know kind of the process in which to go forth with a condition to ensure that they have access to fresh produce, at least in their grocery section. I don't know if that has been done in the past, but would love to figure out a way to put that condition on this establishment. Is that possible?
That's an interesting proposal, and I think any condition would be possible. I'm going to have to actually look, I'm getting a yes from the legal director, so no, I think we could craft a condition that would meet your concerns.
Would that require us to lay over so that we can look at the verbiage that you present, or can we push this forward with the condition and then at council will vote on it? How would it work?
Either option would be available.
Sure, I'd like to make a motion to lay this over. I'll talk with the owner. I'm sure he'll buy into this. They seem to want to give back to the community in some capacity. So I'll make a motion to lay over, and I'll have a conversation with the owner on this.
Okay, there's a second. Can we have a roll call vote on this, on the motion to lay over? Or is there any question or comment on the motion to lay over?
Sure, it's, thanks. There seemed to be a hesitation. I wouldn't use the word extreme, but I think it was very, anyways. So I think we have to look at, right, you have individuals in that corridor who have to walk, just say from Rockford Ridge down to Save-A-Lot to get their groceries. They oftentimes stop into Waylow gas station halfway to get quick items that they may need. In going in there, I think that they can do a much better job at providing some type of, or a better option of fresh food. And so, in light of that, I'd like to have a conversation. So I hope that I get your guys' support on this committee to lay it over so that I can have the conversation with the owner. Thank you.
So I would just, I guess, express the same thing that I did with Alderman Beach's suggestion on the previous layover, which is that you could work on these things with the owner over the course of the week and then lay it over at council instead. So I am not going to support the layover. Alderman Bell?
Thank you. With respect to what happened, I believe it was in well, it was in this committee. But I think those are two completely different things. We're putting a condition on a business in this regard, and so I'd push back a little bit on your comparison there. So I'd hope that I can get enough support to lay this over and we can come back in 2 weeks and talk about it. Thank you.
Which you could do at council and get 2 weeks on the two alderman rule. Alderman Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make a comment that oftentimes layovers are needed to clarify. And I asked this evening, earlier, to lay over so that I can speak to our people to see if we come up with a better deal and denied that privilege. So I just want to put that on record, okay?
Are there any other questions or comments on the motion to lay over? Alderman Bell.
Thanks. I think just to put it back on the table, we are voting for me as the alderman of the ward to have conversations with the owner for them to provide access to fresh food in an area that has very little. Thank you.
Is that actually part of your motion that the committee is directing you to do that, or are we simply laying it over?
Chairman, we're laying it over.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions or comments on the motion to lay over? Seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please? No. Motion carries. Item 12 is laid over. Item 13, 3523 Auburn Street, Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board of Appeals recommends approval for the sale of tobacco products and the sale of packaged liquor, Class PKG, and the sale of liquor by the drink, Class L50, in conjunction with the liquor store, tavern, and video gaming terminals in a C3 General Commercial Zoning District at 3523 Auburn Street. Is there a motion to approve item 13? Are there any questions or comments on item 13? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, 4225 Charles Street. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for the sale of beer and wine by the drink, Class WB50, in conjunction with a restaurant and video gaming terminals in a C2 Limited Commercial Zoning District at 4225 Charles Street. Is there a motion to approve item 14? Second. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15, 2842 and 28XX 11th Street and 2845 Kinsey Street. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for a modification of an existing liquor license for a 100% stock purchase in a C3 General Commercial Zoning District and R1 Single Family Zoning District at 2842, 28XX 11th Street, and 2845 Kinsey Street. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 15? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, 6565 Lexus Drive. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for the sale of liquor by the drink, Class NGL, in conjunction with the restaurant in a C2 Limited Commercial Zoning District at 6565 Lexus Drive. Is there a motion to approve? I'll second. Are there any questions or comments on item 16? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17, 2645 20th Street. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for the sale of tobacco products in conjunction with a convenience store in a C2 Limited Commercial Zoning District at 2645 20th Street. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 17? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. One no. Motion carries. Item 18, 901 West Riverside Boulevard. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for the sale of liquor by the drink, Class L50, in conjunction with the tavern and restaurant and video gaming terminals in a C2 Limited Commercial Zoning District at 908 West Riverside Boulevard. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any questions or comments on item 19? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 19, 6275 East State Street. Liquor and Tobacco Advisory Board recommends approval for the sale of liquor by the drink, Class L50, in conjunction with a restaurant and outdoor seating area in a C2 Limited Commercial Zoning District at 6275 East State Street. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Are there any questions or comments on item 19? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Under resolution, we have one item, proposed resolution establishing minimum standards, performance requirements, and community benefit obligations for a data center. So it's my understanding that this proposed resolution is riddled with legal pitfalls, and so before we discuss this, I'm going to call on staff to, actually I need a motion to, on the motion to approve first. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Can't speak without a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. With that, I want to ask Administrator Cagnoni to address these legal concerns with the resolution, as well as walk us through it generally.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to the aldermen, that reached out to myself, Director Hammer, or Mr. Capavello over the last week just to talk about the legalities of the resolution and some of the existing status related to proposed development. Understanding that the proposed resolution changes a number of the City of Rockford regulations, including our zoning ordinance, our building code. We cannot circumvent the public process related to the adoption of the resolution as it's currently drafted, understanding that anytime that there's a text amendment to the zoning ordinance, it would go through the Zoning Board of Appeals, the public hearing process, and then come before Codes and Regulations Committee, and then City Council for consideration. Certainly, Council has the authority to give staff direction to file text amendments, and should that be the case, we certainly could advance that. Additionally, the building code, is adopted by ordinance, so it couldn't be circumvented by resolution, and the Capital Development Board of the State of Illinois would require us to have a public notice for 30 days so that it could be reviewed and commented on, and that certainly has been our practice. Additionally, as a non-home rule community, we do not have the authority to go into a community benefits agreement without specific statutory authority from the state. That is being discussed, as I understand it, and it is in some proposed legislation, but as it currently stands, it's not authority that we would have. Understanding that the resolution targets a specific developer, Monarch, I thought it was important to probably provide a little bit of backstory as it relates to Monarch and our discussions with them, and certainly willing to answer any questions related to those ongoing discussions. We began our communication with Monarch at least going back to 2023, and it's called Monarch Air for a reason. At the time, Monarch was looking to do a waste to aviation fuel development south of the airport. The hope was to have some synergies with the landfill, as well as have the airport as a purchaser of this more environmentally friendly aviation fuel. So we were heavily involved in those conversations, and we certainly had a lot of conversations with our federal delegation related to some of the rules related to tax credits on the establishment of such a development. Unfortunately, that did not come to fruition, and that ultimately had Monarch pivot to other industrial developments. And we've certainly had lots of conversations with them related to data centers, related to rail yards, related to multiple industrial uses on the property south of the airport. And there's approximately 1,100 acres that is south of the airport. All that property is zoned general industrial I-2. It was annexed into the city of Rockford between 2008 and 2011. At that point in time, it would have gone through the public hearing process to identify whether I-2 was the appropriate land use for this property. At the time, it was consistent with the then comprehensive plan of the city of Rockford, the 2020 plan, as well as the county's 2030 plan. We had worked directly with the Rockford Area Economic Development Council, now the Greater Rockford Chamber in regards to whether this was of the appropriate size, of the appropriate land use for our ultimate efforts to drive additional investment into the city of Rockford, both as it relates to growing the tax base, but as well as, creating job opportunities. Since then, we've been aligned with the Illinois Economic Development Council that has identified this as a mega site. We've worked with DCO. We've done studies with Fairgram, as well as studies related to market analysis for this property being industrial. Now, the reason I state all that information is that when the city of Rockford was annexed this property in 2008 and 2011, we did it by means of an annexation agreement. So an annexation agreement is good for up to 20 years, and the annexation agreements governing these properties are for the full 20 years. So they are still active and existing annexation agreements. And because these are in existence prior to changes related to our zoning ordinance that are being discussed, changes in the zoning ordinance as it relates to permitted uses would not be applicable to this property. If it's the intent to look at uses on this property, I want to make sure that it's understood that those were decided in 2008 and 2011 when it was zoned I-2. However, we recognize the concerns that have been brought forth by the community more recently. These are very similar to concerns that were brought forward in 2008 and 2011 in regards to how industrial development could impact the surrounding properties. So within those annexation agreements, there are, certain development standards such as a 50-foot landscaping buffer adjacent to residential uses, and other development standards that would have to be satisfied. Even with all that said, Mayor McNamara has continued to articulate his willingness to have a public meeting in advance of any data center advancing forward. At this point in time, we don't have an actual data center, or at least it has not been relayed to Monarch that they have a data center or a data center developer under contract to advance that project. But once there is one in place, we'd be happy to have that public meeting. Myself, our zoning team, we've been evaluating best practices related to data centers, watching what has been taking place in other communities in regards to, the type of concerns that we'd want to make sure are addressed, and certainly understand how the community could be fully informed in regards to what would be proposing should there be a data center at that time. I guess I'd mention just one other thing. Previous councils, certainly including, Alderman Beach, former Alderman Bill Rose, had been advocates of us going after tech industry, specifically talking about, microchip manufacturing, understanding that there was and continues to be a national shortage in that as a potential opportunity. We have also had those conversations on this particular property. Whether any of those opportunities are going to advance, it is unclear at this point in time. Certainly, I will defer to Angela in regards to the appropriate statutes and legal processes related to any amendments to our ordinances, but that would be, in a nutshell, just a brief explanation of our review of the resolution.
Thank you, Administrator Cagnoni. Would the legal director like to add to that at all?
Just briefly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have an opportunity to speak with Alderman Bell late last week about the limitations on our statutory authority as a non-home rule community. And so we have engaged in the beginnings of those discussions and discussed how the resolution would need to be revised to stay within those parameters. And as Administrator Cagnoni mentioned, the statutory procedure outlined for changes to our building code and our zoning code.
Thank you. Alderwoman Wilkins, did you have?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. In lieu of this information, I almost feel like it's appropriate for us to maybe ask city staff, along with the mayor and city council, especially with public input, for maybe staff to come up with a proclamation, that one that's legal, that we can start with. Like I said, that captures everyone's voices in this, because I know there have been a lot of discussions behind the scenes and even with constituents. And I know the mayor has committed to, holding those public sessions to get that input before anything is even written down. So I'd like to see something come back, like I said, a legal document from city staff.
Is that a motion, Alderwoman Wilkins?
I guess that is a motion. Is that a motion to get a proclamation going from city staff? Is that appropriate? I don't know if that's appropriate where we are in this juncture in the conversation, but.
I believe it is. Director, or Administrator Cagnoni?
I mean, I don't know if it needs to be a motion, but we're happy to take that direction.
Yeah, I'd like to put a motion on the floor for staff to come up with a legal document for the proclamation for this that will help protect the city.
For clarity, resolution.
Resolution, I'm sorry. I said proclamation.
So I would second that, based on, that I think it's important that we, if we're going to have any resolution at all that tries to guide data center development, that it at least comport with our lack of home rule, and that it not conflict with existing development agreements. So I'll second that motion. Is there any question or comment on the motion to ask staff to develop a proposal? Alderwoman Turina.
I guess I'd like to know so the resolution that was presented, is it just null and void? Are there pieces that could be pulled from it to be incorporated into this new proposed resolution? I'm trying to understand. It's almost like we're jumping to a new thing, and I'm trying to settle the old one. So where are we at with the status of the current resolution?
Legal Director, do we need to take a vote on what's on the agenda?
So it was, I started the conversation with Alderman Bell late last week, and as I was going through the process, it became clear that it was difficult to redline it just because of the number of provisions that were geared towards a home rule community versus us as a non-home rule community. So I reached out to Alderman Bell today to discuss starting from scratch and, putting forward one that is within our statutory authority. I thought that was a more productive use of the time.
If Alderwoman Wilkins were to make her motion in the form of an amendment to the motion that Alderman Bell made, it would then supersede the motion to approve Alderman Bell's proposal, correct?
Yes, however, I don't know that they're mutually exclusive. It's possible to work with Alderman Bell to move forward on his vision for what the resolution looks like within our statutory authority, and then staff could well have a recommendation as well pursuant to Alderwoman Wilkins' recommendation.
So both are possible, but we essentially have two motions on the floor at the same time right now.
Yes.
Okay. And so we can either, Alderwoman Wilkins can either change her motion to become a motion to amend Alderman Bell's, or we can vote on them individually.
Correct. I would recommend voting on them individually.
Let's then have conversation on the most recent motion on the floor first, which is the motion to ask staff to develop a policy. If we can have any questions or comments on that first. Alderman Bell.
Man, thank you. My arms started to get tired. Thank you, Chairman. Let me just say this, Mr. Cagnoni, I appreciate the lengthy explanation. I would have to say that's probably the longest and most detailed that at least I've received regarding the data center, and now publicly here in the meeting. shared with the community. So thank you for that. I think the proposed resolution, the draft resolution that was proposed, is doing its job. We are learning more about all of the details with this situation, the piece of land, what's in front of us, what's not in front of us. So thank you for that. I'm just gonna call it what it is. I think that political theater well done. We've had several conversations, Mayor, Legal Director, Mr. Cagnoni, I'm sure it was passed up to you that there was a desire for this to be laid over and have more conversations, and we've had several back and forth, Legal Director, on what we are going to amend so that it is quote legal or taking out the provisions from for home rule communities. So looking forward to that. I mean, at the beginning of this, again, it was a draft proposal, wanted to start the conversation. I'm glad that it's happening. So again, it's working. I'd also like to comment on the motion that's before us to create a new resolution. I think that is kind of what we're doing. I sent a proposal of a lot, of course, and we're going to make sure that we refine it to ensure that there is a proper standard when it comes to data center development in this community. That's been my guiding compass all along. Residents have voiced their opinion for months now here at City Council. It was time for the conversation to be had around the horseshoe, and so again, it's a step in the right direction. So I'll just say this, regardless of whose name is on the proposal, personally I don't care as long as the minimum standards are set and that this community benefits from any data center that should come before us if we don't have to take an actual vote here on City Council. So however you all need to feel better about moving this forward, again, my whole thing is I think we need to have the conversation, and we're having it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Bell. So again, we are talking about Alderwoman Wilkins' motion to ask staff to develop a resolution. Alderwoman Wilkins and then Alderman Salgado.
I apologize, and I don't want it to go down this road, so I would like to withdraw my motion for us to amend it. I'm ready to vote on what's in front of us tonight, so thank you. I'll withdraw.
So the second also needs to be withdrawn?
It would not need to be withdrawn. It would just happen as a matter of right.
Okay. All right, so then we are back to Alderman Bell's proposed resolution, which is on the agenda. Alderman Salgado and Alderman Bell.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak in your committee. This resolution, I think, from my perspective, I've had conversations with Mr. Bell on this, and I'm a procedural guy. So I've asked a couple questions. I talked to Mr. Capavilla. Text amendment's the way to go with this. And so I think laying it over, sending it back to the Zoning Board of Appeals, just like we did with your storage, Chairman, storage units, trying to establish, that change within commercial zones and so forth. I think that's the proper way of doing this. And I can speak from county board perspective. That's how we used to update our UDO code, as we call it. In this case, our ordinances regarding this. Now, there's a lot of talk about, well, tech and this and that. We had a similar situation with our solar farms, right? The county, experienced that. We experienced those popping up here and there. I doubt we're going to have 30, data centers within the city of Rockford limits. I understand that, but there are concerns, like with solar farms, decommissioning. Is there bonding for that? Who's going to pay for that if they go belly up? Those are concerns that we have, and we need to address those. Just like the water consumption, the electrical rates, you name it, the whole list that goes with that. And I think that's where it should start, is with the Zoning Board of Appeals, text amendment, to look at the different structures that we need to set those standards in order for us to protect our city, our residents, and whatever we want to. And then ultimately, City Council is the one that makes that decision whether it's a business viable, whether it makes sense for the city to collect 14 million, 13 million, 10 million, whatever it is. If it makes sense, then we move forward on that direction. But I honestly think that it needs to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals, whether it's a text amendment, whatever it is. Administration can hold those meetings, debate it day in, day out. That's what they're there for, to make that recommendation up to your committee, and then we take a vote on that as a city council. So that's my recommendation. Ultimately, I was hoping Ms. Wilkins we would add to that to say, hey, send it back to the Zoning Board of Appeals as a text amendment, so we can, hash these questions out, and then it funnels through as we have our process. So that's the only commentary I wanted to make on that, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alderman Salgado. So to clarify, this isn't getting sent back to ZBA because it didn't come from ZBA, but I'm wondering if either the legal director or the city administrator can explain the difference between this resolution. I think I know the answer. It's because it's a resolution versus a proposed text amendment to begin with, which would get referred automatically to ZBA before it comes back to codes and regs. Is that correct? I don't know who wants to take. Legal director, if you want to take that.
Thank you, Chairman. The way a text amendment begins is council adopts a resolution authorizing the zoning officer to apply for that modification with the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So if this were to pass council, that would be the path. It would then go to ZBA.
Correct. As it relates to modifications to the zoning.
But it's not being sent back to ZBA.
Correct.
Correct, okay. One second. If it's the intent of the committee and council to direct staff to file a text amendment to the zoning ordinance, Director Hammer would be correct. It would be a resolution directing us to do that. This resolution, it doesn't do that. Correct. Right now, so I think that would be some of the amendments that would be needed to take place, but it certainly would, as Alderman Salgado stated, that would be the proper way to advance forward a text amendment to the zoning ordinance. I would note that there's a number of other, if the intent is to fully adopt that, there's a number of other proposals in here that are outside the zoning ordinance. Correct, good point. Alderman Bell and then Alderman Durkee.
Thank you, and some of those statements obviously have been made, Mr. Cagnoni, and that is why we need more time, or the legal team needs more time to make those amendments so that this body can adopt something that we can move forward with. But I just want to say thank you to the residents and the advocacy groups, community stakeholders, and council members who have reached out over the past weeks regarding the Our Voice, Our Future data center resolution. The response from the community has made one thing clear. People care deeply about the future of our city, and they want to be a part of the decision that will shape Rockford for generations to come. I also want to acknowledge the advocates and individuals who have spent time reviewing this proposal, sharing ideas, raising concerns, and helping strengthen the document. This has been a collaborative effort, and I appreciate every person who has engaged in good faith. Over the past few days, I've worked to incorporate information, best practices, and lessons learned from communities such as Aurora and other municipalities across the country that are navigating similar conversations around large-scale data center development. This resolution is not about being for or against any one project. It's about being proactive. Right now, cities across America are being approached with transformational developments tied to technology, infrastructure, and data. Some have moved forward without clear standards, public engagement, and measurable community benefits. Others have taken time to build a framework first. I believe that Rockford should be among the cities that lead with a framework. This resolution is intended to establish safeguards and guardrails around future data center development in the city of Rockford. It calls for transparency, accountability, community input, and a serious review of what benefits these projects brings to our residents. That means asking important questions. How will these developments impact utilities, water usage, land use, and infrastructure? What protections are in place for neighborhoods? What opportunities will exist for local hiring, apprenticeships, and workforce development? What tax benefits or incentives can be requested? And what is the return for our people? How do we ensure that the public has a voice before major decisions are made? Those are responsible questions, and those are the questions this resolution, this draft proposal, seeks to begin answering. And I also want to be clear, this is the beginning of the conversation, as I stated earlier, around data center development in this horseshoe. As leaders, it's our responsibility to be proactive and thoughtful on this issue. Right now, we often have more regulations on how a homeowner builds a fence in their backyard or how a small business must follow strict code requirements than we do for developments of this scale. As technology advances and our communities evolve, this is the moment for this council to come together and ensure that these projects are guided by responsibility, accountability, and the best interests of our residents. I've heard from many of you on ideas on how to improve this proposal, suggestions on what to take out, and also real concerns on whether or not we can implement each proposed item. Again, this was meant to get the conversation started, and I'm pleased with the progress this far. Our legal team has been working on amendments that, as stated earlier, that were suggested by many of you. And with respect to time and to ensure a productive conversation around this item, I make a motion to lay over this item so that our legal department is able to complete the necessary revisions. If you have any suggestions or ideas on how to enhance the quality of this resolution, please reach out to me or our legal department. Thank you.
Is there a second on the motion to lay over? Seeing none, I would instead make a motion to table this while I think Alderwoman Wilkins was on the right track. This 9-page proposal is riddled with legal pitfalls. By Alderman Bell's own admission, it needs more work, but I think that work needs to be done by our professional staff, and so I would make a motion to table and to direct staff to come up with an alternate resolution that passes legal muster and bring that back to our committee.
Question? It's the same thing?
Is that?
It's the same thing?
No. A motion to table, it tables it in, would table it indefinitely until staff comes back. Is there a second? Second. Okay. I believe that is a non-debatable motion, correct? Okay. So we now have a roll call vote on the motion to table and to ask staff to develop a alternate resolution. Clerk? Aye.
No.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Meeting is adjourned.